Hello and welcome to Tea Time Theater with Gianna. I am your host today. We have no Sammy, we have no Freddie, and we have no Ruby, even though I miss them dearly with my entire heart. I'm actively separating myself from them because I have to record this. But just remember, when I see them, I'm going to scream, and I'm going to give them the biggest hug in the entire world because I love them. That has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about, but I wanted to put that out there. Instead, we're going to talk about Cabaret. We're going to talk about the West End revival of Cabaret, and we're going to talk about conformity. The two questions I'm going to ask myself that are going to kind of lead this entire thought process is what was happening in the world when we watched Cabaret, and how did it change the meaning of Cabaret? And then how has digital culture changed the way that audiences have discussed and documented this specific production? And, I'm not even going to talk about just the West End because, there is an exact carbon copy of it on Broadway, too. So I'm, yes, I am obviously talking about the West End one because that's what I have seen. But this also applies to American audiences, too. So it both, right? Which you will see in about a minute when I'm talking. At first, I honestly really did not care for this production of Cabaret. My big thing when it comes to Cabaret is very much so, I need to feel uncomfortable. I need to be so deeply unsettled, and I fear that this production probably did it for me maybe one time. And it was during I Don't Care Much, because the choreography of it was just really eerie, and that was really beautiful. But even then, it wasn't, aggressively unsettling. I was just like, ooh, okay, yeah. But it didn't give what I expected it to give, especially since everybody around me was like, oh God, the Cabaret revival is so freaking good, and this and that. And I was like, guys, I don't get it. I don't get it. But, my big thing, and this is going to sound so bad, but I was shocked they never did the salute. I was waiting for the salute to drop, and they never dropped it. And because that's usually the thing that makes you so uncomfortable, is seeing all these modern people who obviously are in a play and are playing pretend, doing this Nazi salute, and you're just what the fuck is happening? And it never happened. But I was talking to my friends after the show, because I went and saw it with my friend Cole, Arista, Serenity, and Ava. None of the people in my group, but I was talking with all of them after the show, and after that conversation with them, I feel like I've come to the fact that it's actually a very well thought out production of Cabaret, and it's actually a very good modern interpretation of the show. And yes, the context of the show is about the Nazis and the Holocaust, but in a really interesting, weird way, this version of it kind of deviates from that plot line. Obviously not, because that's literally what the entire show is about. But they make it so that way it kind of applies to modern audiences because, again, did the Holocaust happen that long ago? No, it did not. But modern audiences aren't actively experiencing the Holocaust. Or Nazis. Neo-Nazis, but we're not going to talk about that. That's getting a little too deep. And even though it didn't happen that long ago, a lot of us feel very removed from it. It's something that you learn in history class, and you see in black and white photos, even though there are colored videos of Hitler. Anyways, we all feel very far removed from it. So I think the concept of choosing the theme of conformity and kind of driving the show with it was kind of a smart decision. Rather than having the MC end up in the striped uniform and dying at the end, or there's a pile of ashes or something, or however the original productions do it, watching the MC just literally conform to the perfect human of Hitler's vision over the course of the show was a really interesting, cool way to show this through the holding of the blonde wig, and then wearing it, and then the lessening of very queer persona that he has, and just all of these different things, the icon and the outfits and this and that, and the way that he speaks is really interesting. And the whole time I was having this conversation with my friends, I was like, okay, I think I get it. It's feeling very reminiscent of the current political climate of America. The whole concept of taking the back seat has always been a thing for Cabaret, Sally Bowles. It's like her whole character. But I feel like this production really stressed the concept of like not having an opinion is almost worse sometimes than having one. This show also was never like super aggressively like, this is about the Holocaust, this is about the Nazis. I feel like I've seen a lot of productions where like it's very obvious after that specific point in Act 1 where you figure that out. The only really largely obvious symbols the entire show were obviously the swastika band during the engagement party, because that's like, you need that. You can't not have that in the show. And like, I guess the blonde wig, and I guess the stance of the dolls mimicking the soldiers. And those things could honestly even be interpreted for a modern day audience. I don't think those things are exclusive to the Holocaust and World War II. And what does that say about history repeating itself? You tell me. It's so interesting. It makes me think about, okay, this is me getting political and a little bit controversial, but it makes me think about the most recent election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and it makes me think about how the election was mostly swayed in a certain direction because of how many non-voters we had. Because polarizing political systems leave the average person in such a state of shock that instead of taking a side and taking a vote, they stand still in hopes that everything will destroy around them and they can hold themselves still and like keep themselves from being shaken, when in reality the world just crumbles around them and you have nothing left to. You're actively falling down with the entire machine. So I just think it's really honestly super fascinating that they were able to make Cabaret this story that transcends across time and historical events. It felt like less of a period piece and more of like a very like continuous warning. And to stretch onto this concept of like, well, what does the digital space nowadays have to do with this? How does this relate? I feel like the concept of like, and I hate that I can't say it any other way, but like a slime tutorial, like a good classic high school named slime tutorial, just an illegal taping of a show. It's become so rampant on YouTube and TikTok and like Instagram or just like any video watching like internet program. In a weird, interesting way, professional theater has become so much more accessible to a wider audience, even though it's being done illegally. But it has become so, it's just become so much easier. You can, if you're, like, I just went and saw Hadestown not too long ago for the first time. And then I remembered, oh, Jack Wolf was in Hadestown on Broadway just recently. And I never got to see that. That's so sad. But I could just look up on TikTok, Jack Wolf in Hadestown, and 500,000 videos of him came up. So I'm scrolling through them and I'm like, oh, wow, he was actually really good. He's a perfect Orpheus. I would have never been able to have formed that opinion if the internet didn't exist. Because I would have never seen it, because he's already gone. He's already off Broadway now. So it just gives us a larger platform to discuss these shows and a larger pool of people to discuss it with. You know, not only just like the amount of people that are on the internet, but like you have people watching the West End version of Cabaret. You have people watching the Broadway version of Cabaret. And even though they're the exact same directed show, your audience experience is going to be different because the UK is so different than American audiences. So having that like discourse on the internet is just so cool and interesting that we get to do that now. And again, even if it's done illegally, I think that it's really cool and interesting and awesome. And yes, I know phones in the audience is awful. I agree. I would hate to be an actor being filmed. That is like my worst evil nightmare. But as like a viewer, I think that it's honestly amazing. So that's my take on the revival of Cabaret here on the West End. And yeah, that's kind of my historical context of it all in modern day. I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see y'all on the flippy flop.